Alternative Radio Cardiff. I'm actually here with one of the most successful entrepreneurs or young business people that I've actually met, and many people will ever meet, Mr. Matthew Cain. How are you doing? You all right?
I'm well, thank you for having me, Josh.
Good. So I'll give you a little rundown. Matthew Cain is a design engineer by trade. He used to work with Dyson before he went off and designed a number of projects which have been very, very successful. Leads on to his most successful campaign at the moment, which I'll let him talk to you about. But you've done everything, haven't you, Matt, from Damascus knives to Swiss-made watches.
To the latest one, coffee machine. So yeah, it's an interesting journey. Along the way, worked at Dyson for a number of years, which was fantastic. I don't think I'd be sat here today with the experience and knowledge that I have without, being surrounded by the best and being a little bit of an imposter actually for a number of years and just being that sponge. I think everybody has to go through that learning curve where you're not actually as good as you think you are, but they kind of shepherd you along.
And yourself, haven't you?
Yeah, you got to test yourself. Exactly.
Give us an example of. I know this might be a bit cringe for you, but give us an example of noteworthy things. So I know that you've been in the papers. You've obviously recently been voted or nominated as Young Disruptor for the Young Entrepreneur Awards.
Yeah, Great British Entrepreneur Awards. Yeah, that's so it's Disruptor and Growth.
But before then, you worked with Dyson, and then you went off, and your first product was what?
So at Dyson, it was very much an eye opener. So Dyson for me was this absolute bubble of energy and creativity, and when you deal directly with Sir James and you're in his kind of bubble, it kind of rubs off on you. So you think that anything's possible. You think that you can just try things and fail, and he's very accepting that failure is part of the path to success. So you learn way more from failure than you do from success, which kind of makes it much more palatable to then put your neck on the line. For example, I then went and thought that I could do watches. There are thousands and upon thousands of watches. If I was going to sit here today and say I was going to start a watch company, people would look at me and go, "You're mad, like the market's saturated, you don't have an angle, you don't have this, you don't have that." And it was kind of like a little bit of naivety on my part that I just thought, okay, I reckon I can do a real minimalist watch where you're not walking around as a brand advertising board, where basically you exchange what would be the brand markup for fantastic materials, fantastic quality components. So it was like Swiss movement, sapphire crystal glass, PVD coated stainless steel, Italian leather strap. So like there was all these kind of components.
And what was the name of the watch and the company?
Aston Cain. So it's no longer going purely because it was part of my journey. And I learned critical things there, which then fed on to the next company. It's kind of an ever evolving business.
So what happened to Aston Cain, and then what was your next company after that?
So alongside that, I used the Kickstarter model. So for those of you that don't know, Kickstarter is a reward-based crowdfunding platform. What that means is basically you present an idea, you present a prototype, you present a video, you present your idea, you present it as far as you can without actually doing the mass manufacture, which is the really expensive committal part of the business. It's the bit that you don't know if your product's going to sell. So Kickstarter's come along and they've recognized this, and they give you an outlet to basically present ideas. Your risk then is just ad spend, but back in the day 10 years ago I had no idea what you needed to advertise to make the platform was kind of big enough to have enough traction through just organic footfall. That's not the case anymore, but yeah, just basically you launch a product and you create enough belief amongst the people that want to support you. You create something with enough value, or for example, you create something that they can't get anywhere else for a price, and they're willing to wait 6 months for you to manufacture it.
It's sort of pre-sales in a fashion.
Exactly, right? It's pre-sales. That's exactly probably the closest way to describe it. Which if you launched a website and you called it pre-sales, the Amazon Prime kind of society at the minute, you wouldn't expect it to do well, and it still does well because you've got to offer kind of some sort of intrinsic value to the customer, or what we call them backers, to make them believe enough in your idea that it's so unique that they're willing to wait 6 months, a year and a half for it to be manufactured, especially if it's a complex product. So yeah, that was kind of my background. Since then, I've done probably 11 or 12 successful campaigns, given talks in London on crowdfunding, reward-based crowdfunding, and yeah, just helped a lot of projects, and really enjoy the idea of people succeeding.
So off the back of your understanding of being a design engineer, being able to design products yourself, and your understanding through the Kickstarter platform, you've been able to take those to market and get them launched, and keep an oscillating trundle of products coming out and then going through that Kickstarter platform.
For sure. So when I was at Dyson, it was very much products that I decided to design that were very manageable in evenings and weekends. So they're like wallets, watches. We did the first pencil, so the world's first magnetically controlled pencil. I did very much campaigns that were manageable, that were small enough that I didn't have to invest a huge amount of R&D. But as like most people know that'll be listening, you don't get something for nothing in this universe. Like there's always, you always have to give something to get something. It's very rare that one of those sides is not fulfilled. So what I realised is these projects were great. They were doing, I don't know, around the £100,000 mark in sales in 30 days, which is phenomenal when you're working, and this is kind of an outside venture. It also fed into my career as a design engineer at Dyson, going out to China multiple times, learning how to deal with manufacturers in a way that I didn't have exposure to in my career. So that added value. But I always knew that I could design bigger products, but for that I needed time, I needed money, and I needed absolute focus away from having a career, and that fortunately happened about 4 years ago. Me and my business partner
onto CoffeeJack, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So me and my business partner Ashley.
Well, before we go on to the CoffeeJack, because I think that's your main the main sort of project at the moment. I mean, what are your products, if you could just list them all down, that you have worked on? Because I know there's been things like knives, the pen, the watch, but I've also got a wallet of yours as well.
Yeah, there's probably too many to list. In all honesty, there's I've kind of gone around the EDC, which stands for everyday category kind of products. So they go in. If you imagine you do your phone, wallet, keys, kind of tap. You got your watch. You've got writing instruments. You've got any kind of little thing that will improve your day to day that you interact with. That's a small and manageable product for me as a design engineer to fulfill.
All these products led up to the big one which you're working on, the one that's got the most traction.
Yeah, the huge one. Yeah. So we've done a few million now in sales.
The name of the product is CoffeeJack.
CoffeeJack.
What that is?
So that's me and my business partner Ashley Rebar-Green, who is one of the best designers I've ever met, and we work together very closely at Dyson. So we both worked on the cordless, so the latest cordless that you see in the shops now, V10. So we both worked on that. And then Ashley went and worked on robotics and the car. And, we kept our business in the background, all approved above board at Dyson, which was great. They liked that we were kind of go-getters. And, there's a really interesting story, that goes with this. But it comes back to James Dyson heard about our coffee machine. One of the directors was talking about it to him. Kind of, he got that much traction, and he said, "Why the bloody hell did you let these guys go?" So that was, I heard that last Christmas, and that was kind of a moment where you think, if this guy who is an absolute coffee fanatic and somebody that knows his stuff better than anybody about consumer products gives you that kind of accolade, it's
it's good that you're still resounding in your old place of work, which ultimately anchored you down, really, rather than
100%
allowed you to sort of spread your wings and get to where you're going. So CoffeeJack, is a hydraulically powered portable espresso maker.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us about that? 'Cause I've seen this in work, and there are promotional videos out there as well, and you'll probably find those on the links. But Matt, just tell us what on earth is this gadget?
CoffeeJack. So the name derives from coffee and jack. So it's basically based on a hydraulic car jack. So if you imagine you need to move, lift a car or whatever, you're going to use hydraulics, because hydraulics, you basically get a huge mechanical advantage. So for very low input force, you could create huge output force, which is very positive if you want to create huge amounts of pressure. So what we looked at me and Ash were at Dyson, and we saw a lot of people coming in with their own coffee gadgets. Okay, and we looked at them and we were like, these are shit. These aren't creating the crema coffee that you want. Why, these are really expensive. They're this, that, and the other. It's something that we both had interest in designing. We never had the time, but we were like, oh, it'd be really interesting. So we looked at the physics actually. So we looked at the physics of basically what you actually require to make a good coffee, and where these other machines were, or handheld portable gadgets, were falling short, is they weren't using the right amount of coffee. And the reason they weren't is because to push water through really finely ground coffee, you need a lot of pressure, and they couldn't create that pressure. Therefore, they had to reduce the amount of coffee so they could push the water through. So that very clearly there was an opportunity. So it was like, okay, well, let's look at the pressure. You need 9 bar, so about 300 psi. So then we did the maths backwards. It was like, okay, what is an acceptable input force? Looked at that, probably about 150 newtons. If you just 150 newtons, which is, if you just about kind of lean your body weight on the table. So then you scale that down, you get a piston size. You have a bore like a cylinder length. That's the amount you displace in volume, and then it gives you the certain amount of power. So it's kind of like, it wasn't groundbreaking physics to calculate it, and we've just packaged it really nicely, and we've really focused on usability, and we've launched this product, CoffeeJack. Created a video where we've tackled some sustainability aspects. And more importantly, the quality aspect, and we've delivered a product which we think is better than anything out there. And we've done,
currently goes through the Kickstarter platform.
Yeah, Kickstarter platform. We've just done one on launched in Japan. That's done hundreds of thousands. It's people have really taken to it as a product that's going to improve their lives.
So what's next then for CoffeeJack? So it's currently. Is the campaign over for Kickstarter now? Or?
Yeah, so we're on Indiegogo. We're on a few other platforms. We're doing it through our e-com store. It's going well. There's been a few delays, obviously due to COVID and factories shutting down, and also myself and Ashley we're perfectionists in design. So we've decided to use that time and really create what would be called a CoffeeJack version 2. But release that for the backers. So that's taken a little bit longer. Few people have been frustrated, rightly so. I would be one of those people as well that would be frustrated for any delays. So I fully get that. But all will be forgiven when a product that is far superior to anything on the market they'll be able to use daily.
So products aside then, and projects aside, I'm very interested to find out what makes entrepreneurs tick, what keeps them going, because although we've spoken about a lot of the successes you've had with some of the products that have come out and have done well, and how you've learned, the design through to bringing it to market, but there's a lot of failure involved, isn't there? There's a lot of hard
huge amounts of failure. It's really interesting because I don't look at anything. There's nothing that jumps out in my mind as failure as such, which is really good. And I think that's probably just the mindset of an entrepreneur that's used to failing. But it'll be daily. It'll be almost daily. There will be failure upon failure upon failure, and you kind of you kind of get used to the fact that any like advice, and I'm not one that I feel like I've got a God-given right, but I'll always, genuinely want people to achieve their best. So if my friends are trying something, it'll almost be like, don't listen to people that haven't done what you're trying to do. So if you're trying to look to people that haven't done, and I did that for most of my life, I looked to family and friends and all those people that hadn't. I didn't really surround myself with mentors that could benefit me, because I just didn't know. I didn't know that was something that was important. But for me to be able to just say, like, like with yourself, Josh, like just to try something, because you don't know, you can't connect, to quote Steve Jobs, you can't connect those dots looking forward. You can always connect them looking back. So if you try something, or however meaningless, or you give your time to something, or you have that hunch that you're going to get something from whatever, don't listen to people because they don't have the bollocks to try it, because they don't have the energy, they don't have the time, they want to put people down, right? So if you just try something, okay, it doesn't have to succeed, doesn't have to be the most successful thing, but I guarantee you that will give you a foundation, that'll give you some base knowledge, and that will then lead you into the next phase, into the next area, to the next thing. And that will give you so much confidence. It'll give you something that you didn't have before. Guarantee it. Because that.
I've had. I can speak from experience, because I've obviously been your friend for quite a while now, and you've inspired me, myself, and Tom and Nick in order to set up Alternative Radio Cardiff, just to get off our arse and start supporting the guys that are out there at the moment that need quite a lot. But
that's again, very kind. I don't think.
It is. It's always been watching what you do, how you do things as well, and it's not a case of the rewards at the end of it. It's more a case of just trying. It's like you're saying you can do something, but if you don't try and do it, then what's the point in even saying that you're good at it or you can do it? So
we're all guilty of it sometimes. We all a lot of us like our little bubble of safe space, and it's very hard for people just to want to put their neck on the chopping block. I've got massive respect for Alternative Radio Cardiff and everything they're doing, and already seeing such a short amount of time they're wanting to interview a wide range of people, and Josh, for example, he really wants to get to the core of what makes people tick. I think that's a really amazing trait as an interviewer to have, to ask those direct.
Well, I think it's important really that because people tend to sort of support and get familiar with those guys that they know, and even though we've got so many different bars and live acts and musicians all around Cardiff, not many people know who they are or know how to follow them. So it's really just trying to take those ordinary people, make them extraordinary, get their stories out there, and get to know them as well. So then you guys, the listeners, can get to know them as well, and then maybe you'll know who's playing out the next time you walk into the Libertine or the next time you walk into Brewhouse. But it's all that. We're not really entrepreneurs as yet. We have got big plans, but there is such a drive behind it, because there is some moments where I'm like, oh my god, this is a bit cringe, and so on. And then me and Nick or Tom will back each other up and we'll get ourselves going. And I can imagine that's quite similar to being an entrepreneur anyway.
100%, 100%.
You get a bit of self-doubt.
100%.
Maybe.
I tell you what. It's you have that doubt up until you start getting a little bit of traction, right? So I use my dad for example. Okay, and yeah, it is posh. It's very very lucky to have a mum and dad. But anyway, he would say to me, he would downplay. I'd be like, oh dad, I've launched this pencil, or dad, I've launched this watch, and I've done this, and he downplay it, and then like you realise when it gets to the point of, when you launch something and it's in the top 0.003% of projects ever launched on a platform, and he can't downplay it anymore, because that's his way of looking at the world, is because he can't do it, you can't do it. So when you do something like that, you kind of know that you're doing something worthwhile. But it's massive. Get back to your point, it is massively cringe up until that point. It's like, you got to go around saying I'm designing pencils. Like, oh well, what's wrong with ordinary pencils. You got to go, oh, well, this one's magnetic, and you can control the lead position more easily. It is cringe, but you get to, and it must be the same for people like Joe Rogan. If you look at his very first podcast, he managed to make 2007 look like 1997 or whatever with all his snowflakes. So you've just got to suck the cringe up, and then just know that when you're doing well, people run out of ways to criticize you. Then they just don't like you. That's the way it is, because they don't like you because it's something they can't do, or they can't be bothered to do.
As soon as you succeed, then that's it.
That's very much the British culture, but not with everybody.
So I mean, we're talking to a guy now. We've got 6 products out, and then a huge CoffeeJack product now, which we're focusing on. But if anybody else is out there starting or wanting to be an entrepreneur, or just feeling uncomfortable in their current position or the current way of life, maybe, or whatever it is they're currently doing, but they want to sort of break free, have you got any sort of advice for those guys out there, coming from somebody that's done it?
Yeah, because I like to break down boundaries in the way that I've done it. Okay, it's like, people maybe like yourself, people like, they meet me and they go, oh, well, you had rich parents, or you had this, or you had the private education, you had that. All those things are great. All those things are fantastic. They're all, but entrepreneurship is the great leveler in my opinion. It's, if you put the work in, you keep grinding. It's like CoffeeJack was almost never going to be a product, because myself and Ashley, we almost shut the company down. We ran out of money at the start of COVID. At the end of last year. We were saying our goodbyes to each other, saying good luck with what you're going to do next. So you don't know what the path's going to take you, and then. So to get back to your question, advice I could give is don't wait. Don't think you need money. Don't think you need this. Don't think you need that. Just put one foot in front of the other and just try something. So if you wanted to do something, there's very small steps, and it's like, if you have a big list of things, it can get overwhelming. And I've been there. You struggle with breaking things down, and then there's that famous Nike saying, which is, you said tomorrow yesterday. Do you know what I mean? You said tomorrow yesterday. Yeah. So you can always say tomorrow, but it's the people that just do it when they're not feeling good in themselves. They haven't got the money, they don't have this, they don't have that, but you're resourceful in your approach. So there's always a way you can solve a problem.
There's always 1,000 reasons not to do something, and very few to do something. And I guess that's clinging on to those few reasons are the precious few why you can break through the mold, maybe.
And it's not for me, it's not about I get money. I get way more excited about talking about the products and projects I'm working on, and to relate that back to useful advice for people listening, it's, you've got to have something you're passionate about. So you've got to have something that you want to get out of bed early for. That's it. That's key. If you have to drag yourself out of bed, you have that Sunday night, I've got school tomorrow feeling, if you've got that, then it's not the right thing. But if you're excited about something, you've got that little spark, that little energy, that's going to carry you way further than any monetary value. People think that you need money to make money. That's one of the misquoted sayings ever. What you need is effort. Effort far outweighs any investment money. Far outweighs. If you think about what your time value is compared to how much you could invest, your time value far exceeds probably 10 to 1, 20 to 1 the actual working capital that you could put into a business. Yeah, you're going to need money, but once you've put the time effort in, you will find the money, because it'll be a no-brainer, because you believe in it, you're passionate about it. You're not then sourcing it from other people or beg, borrow and steal, because you believe in it. It'll happen.
Right. Well, thank you very much, Matt. What we'll do is we'll actually show off a few of the products that you've actually put across on this video, and put some links to the CoffeeJack, and I'm sure you can check out your CoffeeJack video that I can promote on the page as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. We'll do some,
and
do
we're
whatever,
definitely going to hear from you guys and you guys at Entrepreneur Cain as well. A lot more, because Ash is actually an avid musician himself, so he can come on and talk about CoffeeJack itself and play us a few songs as well. But Matthew Cain, you're a legend.
Likewise, right back at you, reporter. I wish you all the best with Alt Radio Cardiff, because it's a great thing and it's a great outlet for people to express themselves. And I'm really proud of you, and keep doing what you're doing, mate.
Cheers, buddy, mate. Thank you very much. And cheers, guys.